Hello, Orca lovers everywhere. I'm Sami Mamarbashi, Communications Director for the Global Orca Society, and this is Global Orca Week 2022. Today, I'm here with Steve Byrne, our founder, and we are talking to Steve Truluck, co-author of Scottish Killer Whale Photo Identification Catalogue. Hello, Steve. Thank you for chatting with us today.
Hi, Sammy. How are you doing?
Good, good. Nice to see you.
Yes, a pleasure to join you guys. As you mentioned, there's the big bad boy, the
there it is.
catalogue of Scotland. And apart from being one of the co-authors, I'm basically just an enthusiast. I'm not actually a researcher, but I've had some pretty cool orca experiences here in Scotland. I'm also a commercial skipper, so I take people out whale watching, and been lucky enough to see some orcas in my time.
Oh, that's great. So we were talking a little bit about what it is you wanted, a general global audience to know about Scottish orcas in the North Atlantic.
Well, so Steve, one of the main issues that always arises when people think about killer whales in Scotland is they think about these two actually on the front cover.
Oh yeah.
So we've got, this is John Coe. You see the huge notch out of his fin.
Right.
This is Aquarius. So these two are the last two remaining orcas, or well, the last two to be seen, should we say. We don't actually know what's happened to the rest of the pod. But the news that, they have a habit of only reporting the bad news in Scotland about the killer whale situation. And it's always about these two being the last two, and obviously being males. They're not having any calves, and the population's functionally extinct. But that doesn't extend to all of the killer whales in Scotland. We're lucky enough to have other communities that actually visit Scottish waters. So it's incredibly frustrating. I was saying to you guys earlier, I had a bit of a well, not an argument, but a discussion on my Instagram page with someone who was, basically showing me an article from the Guardian newspaper, a very reputable newspaper, and it's essentially saying that the killer whale situation in Scotland isn't good. But yeah, as I say, that's absolutely not the case. A lot of the pods that we're seeing now in Scottish waters have got young calves. It's just a shame that the West Coast community aren't able to produce a calf and carry on.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a media such thing where the media is kind of exaggerating something that's not the full picture. And obviously Scotland and the greater Scotland area, there's a lot of ocean out there. And having looked at that survey just before our discussion here, there are hundreds of orcas in the greater Scottish area. Do you have? I was talking with Maria earlier, and she said there's these times where there's like 400 orcas that gather. Is there anything like that happens in Scottish waters?
I wish. I was lucky enough to actually go and volunteer for Marie just before COVID hit, actually. I was a bit unlucky. We had some extremely bad weather, and then, as I say, COVID hit. So my trip was cut short. But no, what we do have in Scotland is how I break it down. We have four different populations of orcas, I would say. So we've got the West Coast community, as we've discussed, just the two left.
Right.
Then we've got the Northern Isles community. They're pods that are generally seen around Shetland and Orkney most of the year, and around the mainland of Scotland. Then we've got these migratory orcas that are commuting annually every year between Iceland and Scotland.
Right.
And then we've also got orcas that tend to follow the mackerel and herring shoals offshore. So if you're going to get orcas in any real numbers, it's normally the offshore, the fish-eating population. And there have been reports, and I've seen quite a few videos. Sadly, I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but quite a few reports and videos of very similar situation to what you get in Norway, with the vessels purse seine fishing with I would say tens of orcas around the nets rather than 400, but right. Still substantial numbers.
Interesting. No, I know. Is there are the orcas in the Scottish waters, would you call generalists, where some of them are fish eating, some are marine mammal, and some are a little bit of both?
Well, we've got, so the West Coast community are actually known to be cetacean eaters. So one of the ones that was found dead, Moon, when they did the necropsy, they found minke whale baleen inside the stomach. I personally have never seen them hunting anything. I've never heard of them hunting seals, but yeah, from what I'm told, they're cetacean specialists. The offshores, obviously, the herring and the mackerel.
Uh-huh.
And then I would say the other groups, so the Icelandic, the ones that migrate between Iceland and Scotland are really interesting. So Marie and Philippa are the main two researchers that obviously we communicate with. And they're generally seeing the orcas over there feeding on herring. And then when they come here, they're prey switching and generally feeding on seals. So we've actually just had, there's an event that we have here every year at the end of May, early June. It's called Orca Watch. It's organised by the Sea Watch Foundation. And that's organised to coincide with this, well, the arrival of these orcas coming from Iceland. And yeah, we've just witnessed quite a few seal kills, shall we say, during that event.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been pretty spectacular. And then the Northern Isles community, I mean, they've been eating all sorts. It's generally seals, that's the predominant prey,
Right.
Porpoises. But yeah, a couple of times have been recorded capturing otters. And
Really? Okay.
yeah, Eurasian otter. So Karen Monroe, one of the other co-authors, she got some like extremely good photos of the orcas that we call the 65s hunting an otter, very close into shore. Really, really great, great encounter that she had. I wasn't jealous at all. And Hughes actually caught them on drone video and on camera hunting eider ducks as well. So
that's amazing. I you know, in Pacific Northwest, we have sea otters in California, Northern California, whatever. I didn't even know you had sea otters in your area.
Well, they're not sea otters. They're the Eurasian otter, but our otters actually, they do go into salt water as well as fresh water.
Gotcha. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, but well,
that's why.
They're sort of sea otters then.
Yeah. They're otters that go in the sea.
Yeah. Okay, they're kind of like river dolphins in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So you said you're a skipper. Now, are you a skipper of is it a whale watching boat or a fishing boat?
It's a whale watching boat. So I work for Hebridean Whale Cruises, which is in a lovely place called Gairloch. So it's on the west coast of the Scottish mainland. So I work there. I've been working for them since 2017, but only a skipper since 2019. I was just a guide before that. But yeah, one of the interesting things is in the two. So I was always working on the west coast, and in the 2 years that I was working before I became a skipper, I never saw an orca. It was really frustrating me. It was the main thing that I wanted to see, especially John Coe, and John Coe's the main target, if you can imagine.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine that. Sure.
And yeah, it was a real source of frustration. I just couldn't seem to. I don't know. I was always just missing out. And then I qualified to become a skipper in 2019. And then unbelievably, literally my very first trip as a commercial skipper, we bumped into John Coe and Aquarius. Unbelievable.
That's great. And you got photos of them, obviously.
Oh yeah. Photos, and there's a little video clip of the moment I realized it was John Coe. My voice jumped up a couple of octaves.
Can you hold up the survey again and show the pictures of
So that's actually one of my photos of,
you can obviously see the big notch on John Coe, and that's Aquarius next to him. That's great. Is that your photo?
It is, yeah. It's
congratulations. You made the cover. You're a cover photographer.
Yeah, no, I've been pretty fortunate, to be honest. Well, in 2019, I actually saw John Coe and Aquarius 3 times in my first week of working as a skipper. It's just one of those things. He just happened to be in the area.
Sure.
yeah, I managed to get on them 3 times, but I've seen them again since then. During the COVID years, we didn't do any trips, obviously, but we took the boat out once in 2020 just to do a sea.
Uh-huh. Oh, hello, what happened?
Group
Okay.
of did you lose me?
No, we didn't lose you.
We're
Just
back.
froze for a minute. We're good. No problem.
We're good.
Cool. Yeah, no, there's an excellent group of researchers called Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust, and they've actually got an app called Whale Track.
Right.
And the app you can actually use to sort of look at where people have seen stuff. And one of the things, obviously, I use that for is to find where people have recently seen killer whales. And someone had seen a lone killer whale off of one of the ferries on this particular day. So we decided to take the boat out, and lo and behold, there's Mr. John Coe and Mr. Aquarius. Yeah, pretty incredible. A bit of a one-trip wonder. One trip that year, and we got John Coe and Aquarius.
Well, one is something. This whale tracker, I did see that on their site, and it looks pretty sophisticated. And obviously, it's meant for citizen scientists as well as people like you, the more involved advocates. Is it widely used, or is it just used pretty much in your area?
Well, the whale track's actually only available within the area that HWDT cover. So that's the west coast of Scotland, basically. Sea Watch have recently produced an app as well that's very similar. So yeah, pretty much the whole of the UK is covered by apps. So if anyone wants to record a sighting, they can do on one of the apps. Okay. But yeah, I mean, Whale Track was the first one that came out, and it's been phenomenal. I mean, we use it every single trip to basically log. Even if we see nothing, it's constantly tracking you, and yeah, it's obviously contributing to science as well. All the data goes to HWDT, which is brilliant.
Excellent. We need more apps like that, more citizen science.
Well, I mean, in general, Scotland, we've been really progressive, I would have to say, with citizen science. I mean, the catalogue itself is a triumph of citizen science. It's there's photos in here from myself as a whale watching guide and skipper. There's photos from Hugh, who runs a wildlife company. There's Karen, who's just, literally an enthusiast, and she just gets out all the time. And then you've got all the fishermen, anyone that's happened to be out with a camera and got lucky enough to get some quality photos, and they're in here. And it's the amount we've learned is really down to the network of citizen scientists. And I think most of the research companies freely admit that, that most of the data that comes into Whale Track, for example, is from members of the public. So it's great.
I was flipping through the survey, just like I said before we started this talk, and I think there must be 200 people acknowledged that all took photography, which is great that they were acknowledged, and great that there was that many. It's amazing.
I just hope we didn't miss anyone.
Yeah, well, if you did, it'd be hard to know because you have to read through all of them. Yeah. So you said that it's been really busy. How's the last couple of weeks been? Have there been any outstanding events that have occurred?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, I've just literally got back from northern Scotland. So I actually live in the Moray Firth, which is northeast Scotland. But actually, at this time of year, the Pentland Firth, which is the area between Orkney and the mainland Scotland, so right in the northern tip of Scotland, is the hotspot for orcas. In general, all year round, it's Shetland, but Shetland's crown is lost at this time of year, temporarily for about 3 weeks. But the rest of the time, it's if you're wanting to see orcas in Scotland, generally, I would always suggest going to Shetland. Right. Literally, apart from kind of mid-May through to mid-June, and then after that, it's Shetland all the way. But the area around Orkney and so the county on the mainland's place called Caithness, and I mean it's just been phenomenal, Steve. It's we've had quite a few amazing sightings. I was originally only supposed to be up there for a week, and I ended up spending 3 weeks.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, it's been that good. Probably the highlight was we had a group called the 64s, which they came in, and crikey, no, I've never seen orcas that close on the mainland. I mean, they were literally at 1.2 meters from the shore. We were stood on the pier at John O'Groats, and at 11:30 at night, and it's still sort of a half light at 11:30, and there was, I don't know, maybe 20 of us still following the orcas along the shoreline, and yeah, they came so close to the pier. It was incredible, quite eerie, because you're in the twilight, but yeah, oh, phenomenal. And probably the most amazing thing actually to say is a lot of the watching is actually done from shore as well. So
right.
There are boats that there's a ferry, for example, that goes across the Pentland Firth, the John O'Groats ferry, which has also experienced quite a lot of sightings. One included yesterday, actually. But yeah, the majority of the sightings, we're fortunate, I suppose, because the access to the coastline is pretty good along the east and the north coast of Scotland. So you can literally, they get spotted, and then basically you just hop to the next location, watch them come in, go to the next one, and so on and so forth. And yeah, you just have to hope you get lucky that they come in, and make a successful hunt or whatever in front of you. And you don't always get lucky, but it's last week was phenomenal.
How many people are typically whale watchers are on your boat when you're out?
Well, on the boat, it's only a rib, so we've got 12 people, so it's it's small beans really. Whereas yeah, when you're shore watching, you can end up with literally hundreds of people. The social media connectivity here is also exceptionally good now. We've got well, myself and Hugh and a couple of others, we've set up regional Facebook groups covering the different areas. So and we've got WhatsApp groups as well. So if there's any sightings, literally people can get on them and yeah, just follow along the shore. It's we're all getting used to sort of knowing the good spots, and yeah, as time goes on, you sort of know where the seal haul outs are, because it's generally the seals that they're hunting.
I see.
And so yeah, you can kind of pick your spots. It's pretty cool.
So that situation you're describing, where you're so close to shore, were there actually people with cameras on the shore at that same time?
Oh yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I was watching from shore. We were all
sure. Okay.
Yeah. We were all watching from shore. So you're yeah. I mean that when the orcas were 2 meters off the pier, we were stood on the pier. It was yeah. It's crazy. So yeah. I mean, probably the highlight actually of the whole. The highlight of highlights, if you imagine, there's one particular spot which is called Broch Bay. Very Scottish sounding name. Yeah. So we've got the northernmost tip of the mainland is a place called Dunnet Head, and just to the east of Dunnet Head there's this bay called Broch Bay, and it's almost like a natural amphitheatre. You're stood up on these high cliffs. There's actually a harbour in there, and there's a small island in the middle of this bay with a sort of a causeway, if you like, running out to the island. And the seals, the harbour seals and the grey seals, we get both species of seals up here, haul out on that spit of land. And these orcas, I tell you, they knew what they were doing. They knew exactly where the seals were. They knew how to hunt that bay. And we watched them. They were almost sort of all the little alcoves on the way up, because we were high up, we could see them coming. It was kind of like they were, I don't know, like clearing different, like the military would clear a house or the police would clear a house on a raid. It was like the orcas were doing that, just going along, going to the next alcove, nothing there, going to the next one. And then they came into the bay, rounded the corner of these rocks, and it was incredible. The male, Sunday, he's only a teenager. He's probably 17 or 18 years old. He kind of went off towards this spit of land, the causeway, along with one of the other youngsters. It's a very young group in general, 5 animals, and the matriarch cut in close on the opposite side towards the harbour, and all you could see, they didn't come up at all you could see was footprint. You could just see them, see where they were coming in. And this bay is probably, I don't know, it's a few meters deep, it's very shallow, and tens of seals in there, all just, you know, bobbing around. And then suddenly the water erupted. 64, the matriarch, had just literally went in, grabbed a seal off the shelf, took it back towards the others, and they all started feeding on the seal, sharing the seal. She handed the seal over to the others, and then went off and made another kill, like instantly. It was just incredible. Just she knew exactly what she was doing. Absolutely phenomenal. And then I think they made 3 kills all in that one little bay. And then I was a little unfortunate. I didn't pick my spot well. I was the furthest person away from where they made all the kills, which was really annoying. But what I was lucky enough to get was 64 then went right around the back of the island and did the same thing but on my side of this spit. And I got I can maybe share it with you guys to include in the talk.
That'd be great. I appreciate that.
Some really, really cool footage of 64 just cruising under the water, and then trying to kill a seal, but unfortunately failing. So, it's beautiful footage. Stunning to watch.
Your heart must have been going 100 miles an hour.
I think there must have been, I don't know, 20, 30 people just stood around, you know, maybe more actually, probably 40 people just stood around this. As I say, it was like watching a sports match, you know, you're in this sort of amphitheater. And the poor old seals, though, it's you got to feel for them. But
it's nature. It's nature. I mean, the orcas have to eat, and that's, you know, the seals eat fish too. So, you know, it actually reminds me of some of the footage I've seen in Argentina, where, you know, there can be some pretty dramatic footage, but I had no idea that was occurring in Scotland at that kind of level.
It's I mean, they're not stranding like they do in Argentina, unfortunately. I would love to see that, but I mean, they're really coming in very, very close to shore, you know, within meters of the shore. Sure. We were all actually waiting for a group that's called the 27s. They're the group that are seen the most in Scotland. They're a group of 7. They were a group of 8, but unfortunately one of them died last year. It was a youngster actually that got entangled and was found dead on the coast of Orkney last year, which was a real tragedy. We were all actually, you know, really, really waiting, hoping that the 27s would put in an appearance. But unfortunately, that wasn't to be. They did later appear in Shetland, unfortunately. So for us anyway, right. Good for the people in Shetland. But instead we got the 64s, and to be honest, we didn't. You know, I didn't miss the 27s, if I'm honest, because the you know, seeing the behavior of the 64s coming as close, if not closer than the 27s was phenomenal.
That's really sounds like an exciting day, you know, worth all those hours at sea looking. Well, I mean, this is the thing, we during the whole Orca Watch event, I mean, the event it's basically to survey, you know, the whole coast kind of thing, and use the ferries and use the shore. Sea Watch organised the event, as I say, and people are watching in Shetland and Orkney as well as on the mainland. Right. And a lot of hours put in, you know, a lot of effort put in to watch the coast. And I think Orkney was probably tipped the balance out of the most orca sightings this year. They had one particular group that were regularly coming into one particular pier called Scapa and in Scapa Flow, and almost on a daily basis they were coming in and they were spy hopping. There's some incredible photos of a guy called Graham Campbell and a guy called Robert Fubister that I know very well. Managed to get some phenomenal photos of these orcas spy hopping with seaweed in their mouths. Just absolutely beautiful. But
they didn't unfortunately come over to the mainland. I think Orkney got another incredible sighting of 15 animals, which must have been sort of multiple groups meeting up. But yeah, we had a couple of the Icelandic males, a male called Trinky and a male called Ulfa, who actually came through twice. They came through on our first day of Orca Watch and on the last day of Orca Watch. And they were particularly interesting because they're young males. Trinky, it was his first time away from his pod. So he's part of the 19s group, which is the matriarch's an orca called Musa. Musa was the first match between Iceland and Scotland. So she's pretty famous in our circles. And yeah, so it was really interesting that Trinky had decided to go off. You know, he'd actually left his group for the first time. And he's a sprouting male, so he's 14, 15 years old. He's not an old animal. And Alpha has been seen with the 19s group previously as well. But yeah, what was particularly interesting was the miles they were covering was incredible. We've had another incredible discovery this year, that orcas are using an area around a place called Fraserburgh, which is actually down near where I live. It's about an hour and a half from where I am. And we had 3 weeks non-stop of seeing orcas at Fraserburgh, which is unheard of here. It was just again another triumph of citizen science. I'd noticed that there was this pattern of orcas being seen every May in Fraserburgh. So one of the local lads, a young lad called Sean, he spotted orcas and he rang me, and so I thought, right, here we go. My mission this year, see orcas at Fraserburgh. I've failed before. And so I went, and yeah, literally for 3 weeks solid, there were orcas there. It was one particular pod mainly, the 169s. And what was particularly interesting was that Trinky and Ulfa joined this group. And then they hung around with them for about a week, and then they actually split up at some point. Went all the way up to where we were at this moment at Orca Watch, into Orkney, then all the way back down to Fraserburgh again, and then all the way back up again. It was just like, what are you doing, guys? It was yeah, it was pretty interesting. Watching their movements, and great again that there are people in Fraserburgh. There's mainly the fishermen, I have to say. They've all really taken a great interest, and so we're able to track these animals, without tagging them or anything. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, well, as you know, there's a lot of new technology coming on board, going through this next decade, that's going to allow us to study their communication system, their societal structures, things like that. And they're fascinating. Of course, we're interested, obviously, and you are too. I'm curious, how did you get interested in orcas? How did that occur?
Cool. Well, I used to be an engineer, and down in England, you might tell I don't know if you're good with your UK accents, but I'm English, and I ended up being transferred to Scotland to work with my engineering job, and I lucked out, to be honest. I got transferred to this beautiful part of Scotland. I could turn my camera around. Basically, the sea is just out there, and I was told on my first day here that I could see dolphins from my house, and I was like, "Whoa, wow, how cool is that?" And yeah, the Murray Firth is actually famous for its resident bottlenose dolphins. They're the biggest bottlenose dolphins in the world. And yeah, there's a population sort of 200-ish animals. They're actually kind of spreading around and about all over the place at the moment. But essentially, this is the core area for them. So yeah, I started watching out for these dolphins. And then one thing and another happened. I started seeing minke whales further out, porpoises, and getting more interested in what was going on. And then I heard of this incredible killer whale sighting that was seen 7 miles from here by a local watcher. He's been watching for about 25 years now. And yeah, it turned out it was this crazy animal called John Coe. And at that time, there was still more of, this was 2013. there was still more of the population left. I think seven of the animals of the West Coast community were here in the Murray Firth on that day. So yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe that you could see killer whales here. And that is, yeah. And then I was told the story about, you know, the West Coast community, and the at that point Lulu was still alive, so we didn't know what was actually going on. But it was still, even before Lulu was found dead and necropsied, it was a well-known fact that no calves had been seen in this community for since research had begun in the 80s. So yeah, I got told that story, and it blew me away, if I'm honest. And I just thought, well, I really want to see these animals. And as I said to you earlier, it took me until 2019 to see Jonco. So it was a great source of frustration. I first saw my orcas actually here in at home in 2016. So yeah, it took me 3 years of looking, not solidly, but following up leads and stuff, and traveling over to the Outer Hebrides. And my surname's Truluck, but I earned the nickname of Nayluck because I just wasn't having any luck. I'd go to the Outer Hebrides, and orcas would turn up at the back of my house, just unbelievably.
Now, who called you Nayluck? Who came up with that nickname?
It was, dare I say, it was a guy called Walter Innes was the guy that, he was the guy that came up with the name, but it stuck, these things. So it was.
I'll try not to use it.
Well, I think fortunately I've shed that name now. It's. I think I've proven myself now.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
But, one of the things, because it was so difficult for those 3 years, and I had all those, that bad run of luck. It did mean that I had to learn things the hard way, when I finally saw them, I had actually gone to Orca Watch literally the day before I was at Orca Watch, and that local watcher that I mentioned to you, his name's Alan Airy. He's the guy that spotted Jonco back in 2013. He happened to also be up at Orca Watch, and he had a very unfortunate bereavement that he had to leave Orca Watch early and come home here. And at the same time, my lovely friends that I went there, I was supposed to be going there for a whole week, changed their plans, and I had to give them a lift back to the Netherlands, to the airport to go to the Netherlands. And it was my last dose of severe bad luck, Nayluck. I drove them back to the airport, and as I arrived at the airport, 3 hours away, the guys up at where I'd been at Orca Watch reported there were orcas, and I'd been watching there 72 hours solid, didn't lift my eyes from the sea. And I'll be honest with you, I was absolutely mortified. And of course, Nayluck was being mentioned and what have you. But the fortunate thing was Alan actually got to understand how desperate I was to see orcas. And so the following day, he happened to be out looking at the sea, and he spotted orcas from behind my house. Huh? And he rang me, and the rest is history. I managed to get out and go and see them. And it was such a mind-blowing experience. Just, I think if I could have done what a lot of people here do, go over to Vancouver and see the amazing orcas in the Pacific, or I could have gone to Norway, or Iceland, it's easy, but seeing orcas in Scotland, seeing them on your home turf, it's phenomenal. Honestly, it's just and the behaviors we see here, it's just incredible. And I will never ever forget the first orca I ever saw was Hulk, and I'll never ever forget that moment I saw his dorsal. He's a big boy, as you can probably tell by the name. Right. It was just phenomenal, and what Alan did for me that day blew me away. And basically since then I've devoted my time to showing other people killer whales. So
we're glad you did, and we're glad to have you in this discussion conversation and tell these great stories. It really is very enriching, and we think our viewers are going to really love watching and hearing about these stories. So we want to thank you for the time you've taken, And when we stop the recording, we'll talk a little bit offline. But thanks very much, Steve Truluck, I'm sorry. We won't call you Nayluck, we'll call you,
Yeah.
we'll call you Truluck. And we'll stay in touch, and we could like to, check back with you maybe in a few months and maybe do another one of these and just kind of have an ongoing conversation about orcas in Scotland and your experiences as a skipper and a photographer. So thanks again. And I think Sammy will probably stop the recording here pretty soon. Thanks a lot, Steve.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks.